We have a very uncomfortable scene unfolding at the LA Dodgers Stadium. As you can see, the stadium is empty.
Perpetual Indulgence for their outstanding service to the LGBTQ plus community.
And they're trying to present the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence for their, and I quote, outstanding service to the LGBTQ plus community.
Sister Unity and Sister Lydia.
Right. So, there are a lot of things that are happening here, and we need to unpack them. The first one is the false narrative that the Dodgers are being punished for promoting LGBT issues within the current month. This should raise questions to anyone that is even remotely skeptical, because on June, almost every single corporation is promoting LGBT issues, to the point where when you had a couple that didn't, they were the outliers and stood up. So they even got criticisms years in the past due to this. So why is it that the Dodgers in particular are getting the backlash? And if you look into it, you notice that it has to do with the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, as well as the marketing demographic that the Dodgers has, right? Their fans. Their fans seem to be overwhelmingly from the Latinx community. And there is a huge overlap between the Latinx and the Catholic faith. So most of them are not just Christians, they're Catholics. Now, when you look at the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, they are doing a tactic that left-leaning activists love doing because it's very effective. And that tactic is to be the aggressor. And the moment you get criticism or backlash for the things you did, you claim that you're a victim, but for different reasons. So, in the situation of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, well, not only do they dress up as nuns specifically to make fun of the Christian faith and to mock and ridicule Christianity, but they have also made fun of the cross during Easter. Now, as an atheist, I'm not well-versed in Christianity, but from my understanding, Easter is considered to be the most holy day for the Christians. And to have people in drag shaking their tushy next to a person on a cross is considered to be very disrespectful. Imagine if they would have done this with a rabbi, or heaven forbid if they did this to Muhammad and they would twerk in front of an imam, right? Like, it goes without saying that those religious groups would be incredibly offended by what transpired. But for some reason, it's customary and tradition for Christians not to be allowed to get offended. But this is literally what happened here. Like, the Latinx community didn't really appreciate the behavior of the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. Like, they seem to not have a problem with other companies that are promoting LGBT issues, but they do have a specific problem with this particular activist group. And the backlash that they give was enough to initially cause the sisters not to be invited. But then something happened, which we're going to talk about it, and the sisters were allowed to return, which led to the empty stadium. A lot of people are saying that the right are engaging in cancel culture, and I vehemently disagree. When the left engages in cancel culture, it's usually the people who have power over you that decide to not allow you to continue, even though you have a huge audience. So, for example, Alex Jones, he gets punished by the big tech, right? Like, it's not that Alex Jones doesn't have followers, or that if Alex Jones wanted to stream, no one would watch. No, it's that big tech does not allow him anymore. There have also been issues where banks have stepped in or advertisers have pulled out, right? Like concentrated efforts in order to prevent the public, which is interested in the thing, to not be able to see the thing. That is how left-leaning do cancel culture. What I'm seeing here is an empty stadium. Like, the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence are allowed to go there. The Dodgers are allowed to invite them, but people don't want to see it. Like, and this is like legitimately healthy criticism. This is not something that is like the left doing it. Because if it was the left, they would just contact the Dodgers and force them to uninvite the sisters, right? So it's a huge difference between a grassroots boycott versus an artificial boycott that's organized by people who have power. And this is what I want to talk in the other half of the video. The concept of power. See, when the left wants to boycott someone, they use a thing called power mapping. Now, this is written in a book which is available for everyone to read. It's called Beautiful Trouble. The tactics are made public. And part of the tactic is to do power mapping. Right, so the left activists, they're few in number. They know this. Like, they know that the overwhelming majority of people do not agree with them. So they have to resort to these guerrilla tactics. They have to resort to these ways of manipulating the social image in a society. So what they do is, like, when they go after someone, when they want to boycott something, they know that the boycott has to be successful, because otherwise you lose a lot of reputation if you make an unsuccessful boycott. So they will do power mapping. Power mapping means they want to see who has influence over another person. So if the person isn't willing to cooperate, they'll go like, okay, well, who has influence over the Dodgers, right? And that could be a family member, as you can see. It can be part of their church. It can, like, everyone is a fair game, right? You just need to find the weakling, the people that are sympathetic to them. And it usually can be an institution where other activists from the left have infiltrated, or the people at the top have virtue signaled that they're part of the ideology. And then they use that institution to leverage power over the people under them, right? So from the outside, it looks like, well, it's a couple of people that have been complaining on Twitter. Why did the Dodgers give in? But from behind closed doors, you don't know what the activists did. But chances are they did something in order to get the Dodgers to reconsider their decision. The other thing is what I spoke about before. It's when you have the activists being the aggressors, like they are purposefully offending and purposefully targeting a group of people in order to generate this exact situation where they now claim to be the victims. And they're not being attacked because they have been disrespecting Christianity. No, they're being attacked because they're LGBT, right? And the actual conversation isn't happening on the empty stadium. The actual conversation is happening behind the television screens. This is who they want to reach. They do not care about the people that watch the Dodgers. No, they do care about the people who read the New York Times. They do care about the people who read the Washington Post. That's the target audience that they're interested in reaching. And of course, the activists, you know, the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, who are being mistreated by this, they're probably going to get some nice donations, because this is what makes a good activist, is if you manage to make it in the papers. And the only people that are going to suffer from this are the Dodgers, which have been placed in an unwinnable position. On one hand, they could have kept going and just ban the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence and then be labeled with the term of homophobia, which would make it very difficult for them to find advertisers, would make it very difficult for them to continue doing business as normal, as probably people above the chain would decide to stop doing business and cut ties with them. Or they could decide to allow the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence in the hopes that the fans who are displeased are going to eventually come back. So they have been placed in this unwinnable position of a rock and a hard place, where the activists hope that they're going to side with the left, simply because the left does hold more power in society. But more importantly, like it says in Beautiful Trouble, you need to control the media, right? I control the dialogue, the means of communication, so that the people at home do not get the full context of the story. They only get the context that, well, this poor activist group was being invited and then unceremoniously was being uninvited because of Christofascist or whatever other adjectives the journalists are going to use. They're not going to present the whole story. They're not going to say, oh, well, these people have mocked Christianity and most of the fans were Christians, and, you know, they didn't appreciate having someone that mocked Easter being next to their favorite team, right? That's not the story that the media is going to go with. So the actual ideological conflict is not happening on the stadium, as I mentioned. It's actually happening to the people at home. So this is why the left does it. This is why the people cave. It's the power mapping. It's the infiltration of institutions, and more importantly, it's the fact that the media is only presenting the side of the activists. They're not going to present the side of the people from the audience. And even when they do, they cherry pick. Like, they will go to the most extremist, most radical person in the audience. They're going to get an interview from them, and they're not going to actually listen to the more moderate, more down-to-earth opinion. like a more moderate or down-to-earth opinion would be like, okay, so do you think that a Muslim would put up with this, or do you think that an Orthodox Jewish person would put up with someone mocking their religion, their faith like this? And then do you think they would pay money just to go to see a game, or the person that mocked their faith and their identity is dead? Of course not. You know, like that's the thing. But for some reason, Christians are expected to do it, and when they don't, they're bigots. Well, it seems that people have been fed up with this idea of being called a bigot, and they're like, okay, so what? Like, why should I behave differently than everyone else? Like, if you mock someone's identity, especially in 2023, it's considered a bannable offense on social media. But for some reason, like, if your identity is that of a Christian, which is a strong identity for some people, and it completely changes your lifestyle, why should that be mocked? Like, if you identify as a Christian, why should people mock that belief? Not to mention, they shouldn't even question the existence of a God, because if they question the existence of a God, it means that they're erasing Christianity, and they are insinuating that you are being delusional, right? Like, for example, a Christian is fasting, is praying, and you're saying that the God that he is praying to doesn't exist. Like, well, why is he praying then? Like, is he doing a waste of time? No, it's very disrespectful, right? So this is the arguments that they can use, and I'm pretty sure they are. But in the meantime, it's going to be interesting to see if the Dodgers recover. They had to choose between their advertisers and their fans. I guess they're expecting that the fans will come back. We'll see. You know, it's an interesting question, and I guess we will have to wait 1 year before we can answer it. Let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.